Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I want to thank one of my viewers for the inspiration behind this video. They suggested doing a video on how to identify a company might be narcissistic in nature or kind of a narcissistic safe haven before you apply and get tangled up with this particular company. And it got me so excited that I had to do this video right now and share it with you guys. So in no particular order, I've kind of written down quite a few things that should signal a company is going to either harbor narcissists or just their overall approach is narcissistic in nature. The unfortunate thing about this is a lot of these things you will not discover until you're actually within the company. You've already been hired, you've got your badge, and you've gotten a couple of paychecks and you start to figure it out. So a lot of these things will not become apparent, and it's unfortunate. But some of them you may be able to pick up on before you say yes and agree to that job offer. So in no particular order, let me list some of these for you. The first one here, do their workplace policies match actual business needs? So here's what I mean by that. As we continue on in the internet and technology age, a lot of jobs really don't require you to be physically present to accomplish them. Here's a really great question to ask yourself to see if you can work from somewhere else. If the internet went down at the office, could I do my job? If the answer is no, that job is something that can be done anywhere in the world. But a lot of companies are attached to this idea that they have to see you in order to believe that you're actually working. And it really makes no sense when you think about it, because does presence really equal productivity? Are this employee's projects getting turned in on time? Are they producing at a high level? Well, try it out. See if they can work from somewhere else. And if their productivity suffers from when they work from somewhere else, well then obviously this is someone who needs to be present in an office. But if someone is telling you, my productivity increases when I'm elsewhere, and they're actually telling their company, I want to produce for you, I want to be more efficient for you, that is my deepest desire, and the company is adamantly against that type of setup, that's a narcissistic company, because they're attached to the idea of command and control, which unfortunately many companies are set up on this idea of command and control, because a lot of companies were established at a time really like wartime, honestly, and you had to kind of like gather the troops and make sure everyone was efficient, and like it's hard for me to explain. History buffs could probably do a much better job than I am right now. The point is, and there was no internet. Technology was nowhere near where it was today. So yeah, you had to go to the office to do your job because you had no other choice. You didn't have a computer at home, let alone the internet to rely upon. So a lot of companies are still stuck in that old time frame where they really believe they need to see an employee in order for the employee to be productive. But more than that, it's more, what makes it narcissistic is the employee. What we're learning about humanity and human beings, that everyone has different needs. Some people listen to music while they work. Some people watch TV while they work. Other people need silence. Other people need focus and concentration time. So really what we should be doing is saying, what does this employee need to feel successful? And what can I do as their employer to make them as successful as they can possibly be, because ultimately that translates to my success. So it becomes narcissistic when the rule is held on to for no other reason other than it's the rule. Okay? So do their workplace policies match actual business needs? Okay, that's just one small example. Okay? And I'm sure you all could come up with dozens more. Let's keep going. Does everyone in this company need a handler? Meaning the supervisor's supervisor has a supervisor. There's team leads for the team leads, and there's managers and directors and associate directors and junior directors, and does everyone have a handler in this organization? And if so, why does everyone need a handler? Is everyone's handler justified? Now, obviously, in some industries, it's absolutely justified. There's a chain of command. It's there for a reason. Every role makes sense. So, every role gives birth to the next one, and they connect and they make sense. So it's not about everyone having a handler. It's about this particular position is needed in order for the business to run effectively, right? But I mean, if everyone has a handler in the organization, it makes you wonder why. Why does everyone need so much management? Why does everyone need such a high touch? And what can we do as a company to set our employees up for success in such a way that they don't all need such a high touch? I've always kind of been intrigued and confused by the idea of a manager, because to me it says this person knows more than their employee. So in order for the employee to be successful, they have to rely on this person. And the question for me has always been, why doesn't everyone know as much as they possibly can? Because doesn't it make sense for the employee to understand a higher level of the business, to see how they play into it? Because if they can connect why they're doing what they're doing to the bigger picture, they might stick around longer. But if they feel like they're just doing things arbitrarily for no reason because someone's making it up somewhere else, they're probably going to leave your company. Okay, so does everyone in the organization need a handler? And if so, why? I can't list off every type of role that's out there in the world, but some jobs just don't need managers. What do you need a manager for? It's like you need a mommy or a daddy at work. Why? You know what I mean? Why aren't your employees empowered enough to make intelligent decisions to their degree of authority, in the organization? You know what I mean? Like, let's move on to this next bullet. Here's something that you can identify before you accept a job offer. Is training limited or abundant in this company? What are their training programs like? How many of them do they have? Are they dated? Are they generic? Are they very patronizing to today's adult? What kind of training programs do they have? Is this company very invested in their employees' training, or is it something that's kind of a secondary thought? The reason this is important is because a company that does not invest in their employees' training is basically saying, we really don't care if you get any better from this day going forward. We just need you to do this one thing. We're not going to invest in you as a person. We're not going to develop you as a person, make you better for the business by making you a better person. It's almost like just plow, just do something, just do what we hired you for, but we're not going to enrich your life in any way as a result of you being exposed to us. Or they feel like your position is so low on the totem pole that somehow you're not worthy of training, which is silly, because you should train everyone, because if they do leave your company one day, they left your company, but they didn't leave your city necessarily. They didn't leave the state, and guess what? They didn't leave the planet. So if I was a business owner, everyone that comes through my company, I hope I leave them a little bit better, because we still share the same planet with this person, and they're going to still be alive somewhere else in the world, and at least that corner of the world might be a little bit better because they pass through my company. Do you see what I'm saying? Companies have kind of like a corporate responsibility. I know that people probably will debate that, but in a way, once you've reached a certain size and you have a certain amount of power and influence and resources, you have a responsibility now to the global society. And everyone in your organization should be a better person as a result of passing through. So companies that limit or don't really take the time to invest in this part, they're really saying a lot about themselves. And it's also saying that they don't believe training and development is important. And it's really the most important thing that you have. It's kind of the only thing that you have. It's just kind of amazing how it's a lot of training and development programs are given a backseat in corporations. Let's keep going. Do they have succession planning? So succession planning is basically, if you come in at an entry-level position, to some degree you can see a pathway for yourself. So they may not be able to define a time frame, but you can kind of see somewhere else to go in the organization and how to get there. So for example, you come in at entry level, and let's say the next level is a junior level. They would say, hey, you know, our junior level associates, they have these type of certifications, they have these type of degrees, we help you out with, you know, these couple of certifications, these you have to get on your own, but we reimburse you, or whatever. You know, you have to do a mentorship or like an internship program, something that says walking these steps will highly increase your odds of moving to the next level. I know businesses have needs, and businesses can't promise everyone that comes in that they'll all get promotions if they just follow a checklist. That's not at all what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is, in a reasonable talent pool, if they're telling you certain people have these qualifications, we help you with some of these qualifications. We can't promise you a job, but it highly ups your odds of getting one. But there's hope, at least. You know what path to follow. A company that's kind of narcissistic really doesn't plan on moving you beyond where you are. They hired you for one position, and in some companies that's just the way that it is. They need you to do this one thing because they need you to do this one thing. It doesn't necessarily make them narcissists. I'm talking about the companies that actually have the ability to provide succession planning to their people and choose not to, mainly because the positions that would be succession planned for are being occupied by narcissists who refuse to give them up. And they're not going to help the people that come up behind them. They're not going to help people who are new in career. They're not going to teach them what they know. They're not going to share with them the struggles that they've had along the way, the things that they've learned, so that person can maybe make a better choice. They're not going to do that kind of stuff because they don't want to give up their position. They don't understand how they're part of the greater whole. They don't understand how people are leaving their company because they feel like there's no career path, and they don't get how high turnover is actually not helping you. High turnover in your company because of people like you is hurting your company. It's not helping. They don't see how their behavior contributes to the whole. Here's another way you can tell if the company you're applying to is full of narcissists. Read the reviews. There's some really great websites. Glassdoor is one. I think LinkedIn has reviews. I want to say Indeed.com does reviews. But sometimes you can just type in the company's name and the word reviews in like a simple Google search and turn up a lot of really valuable information. And take the time. Don't read the 5-star reviews. I mean, just don't. Go read the 1- and 2-star reviews. Those are going to be the ones that give you the most valuable information. And as you're reading through, really kind of pay attention to what the people are saying, because oftentimes people have a tough time expressing themselves in writing, but what they're trying to say is coming through in the words. And if multiple people are saying the same thing, that company has a problem that is going unacknowledged. And depending on what it is, you should really, take it into account. Go read those 1- and 2-star reviews, because those are going to be your most honest reviews. Now, you're always going to have the disgruntled employee, and they get on there sometimes and they vent, and it's up to you to be able to differentiate between someone who is just kind of a bad employee in general and probably deserved to be fired or, leave the company or whatever, and someone who has experienced a great deal of narcissistic abuse in that company. They may not know what to call it. So they might call it things like bullying. They might call it harassment. They might call it a number of different things, but that's what you have to latch on to. So really pay attention to the words as you read through those reviews, and take heed and just determine for yourself, is this something that I can tolerate? Is this low-level narcissism, or is this malignant narcissism at this particular company? All right, let's keep going. How's this company's customer service? Do they treat their customers very, very well? Do they have really flexible policies that make life super easy for the customer? When you call, do you get professional treatment on the other end of the phone? Have they always have had high integrity with you as a customer? If so, if you've had the opportunity to be a customer of this particular company, chances are the internal policies are pretty good as well, because the customer is the end user. So if the customer is having a really great end user experience, it's usually coming from really great employees at their corporate office. Now, I know that that's not always the case. I know that there are some amazing companies out there, customer service wise, who are probably filled to the brim with narcissists. But I find that hard to resolve in my mind, because I don't see how a bunch of unhappy employees can generate such great customer service for everyone else. Some people have super high work ethic like that. It doesn't matter how they are treated, they're still going to produce at a high level. But narcissism has a tendency to stifle operations. It has a tendency to clog up operations. Narcissists don't really like being nice to people. They don't really like being kind to people. So they're not going to produce customer service policies that really truly benefit the customer. You know what I mean? They're going to have super shady customer service policies. For example, like shady little gym memberships that you have to like basically write to Congress to cancel, or you know what I mean? Things like that, where they make it very hard for you to leave the relationship. If a company makes it hard for you to leave the relationship, it's run by narcissists, because they don't believe in their product, and therefore they have to trick you into their product as opposed to their product speaking for itself. Let's keep going. Is tenure more important than skill? So is this a company that values time spent over product produced, or over things that have been delivered? Is this a person, or is this a company that has people in positions of power that really don't know what they're doing, but they've just been there so long that they got the position? Do they foster that kind of activity? Do they support it? Are these people improving at all, these tenured employees? Are they people you look up to, someone you would want to be your mentor? Or are they people who really have been kind of doing the same thing for the past 20 years and will continue for probably another 10 or 15, and are really holding up company operations, but the company won't do anything about it? That's a narcissistic safe haven, because only a foolish company would hold on to people in positions of power that actually slow operations down, prevent you from making more money. Aren't we here for the money? Aren't we all here to make a little cash? Then why are you maintaining people that actually prevent you from making more money? That I will never be able to wrap my mind around that. Never. I will never be able to understand why companies will allow toxic environments to continue, with knowing that that toxicity is contributing to the loss of dollars and cents. I just don't get it. It's something I'll never ever be able to process. But that's a really great sign. If tenured employees are in positions, not even necessarily of power, they're just there, but they don't really do anything. They're not helping the cause. If you cut them, there would be no love lost, in terms of business would not only go on, it would probably actually get better if this person left. They're just in the way, and they're very stubborn usually, and they don't want to teach. They're just not in these positions because of what they've done. It's just a matter of, I've been here a long time. That's a really important sign, because that tells you that that company values tenure over actual production, efficiency, and making money. Next, is this company open to innovation and new ideas, or are innovation and new ideas kind of viewed as four-letter words in the company? Do people come in, and you wouldn't know this without working there, but for those of you who are in a company, do people come in really bright and starry-eyed and full of energy, and within a few months they're kind of quiet and keeping to themselves, and they're not anywhere close to the person that they were when they first got there? That's probably a place where creativity, new ideas, energy, excitement, life is all stifled. It's all stuffed down. The status quo is the most important thing. We must maintain the status quo. We cannot change for the better, even if it would make us more money. We're very committed to the way we've always done things, and we're not open to change. That's a narcissistic environment, because remember, narcissists have to hold on to their fragile sense of self, or else everything collapses with them. So any type of introspection or looking within is too much. It's too intense for a narcissist, even if it would mean it would lead to a better outcome for them. Even if it means the company would be healthier to look within and make some changes, the looking within process is too painful. So they just commit to doing things the wrong way. So any type of innovation, new ideas, creativity, things like that is immediately stifled and shut down. All right. And along that same thread, is this company very dated? When you walk through, hopefully they'll give you some type of tour. What is the energy? How do you feel in there? Are the copiers so old they look like they're from 98, or the late 80s? Look at the stuff on the walls. Look at the things that are hanging. What year are they from? Is it current, or at least within the past 2 or 3 years? Past 5 years? Look at the people in the office. Do they look like they've been in a time warp? Meaning, they're frozen in a certain year, these particular people. Look at the carpet. Does it look like it's been trampled and worn down for 30 years? Is there a lot of paper in the office? Is there a lot of dust in the office? If so, this is a place that has decided that the way things are the way things are, and we are not really open to change and evolving and growing. I've been looking at that picture on the wall for the past 12 years, and I want to continue to look at that picture on the wall for the past 12 years, because if you move it, it's going to throw off my entire sense of self. If we actually go through these file cabinets and start throwing things away, then what do we do? At least the file cabinets are full right now. They have a full purpose. But what is the empty file cabinet going to do? What do we do with that? But more than that, this is a company that probably will be very slow to update their technology. They'll be very slow to update business practices. So going back to my very first example, if your job turns out to be one that you could do from home or do from somewhere else, all you need is an internet connection, but you have to be present for no real reason other than being present, that's a company that's narcissistic. You're going to have a lot of problems, because they're not open. They're closed. They've built their fortress, and there's no door. There's no bridge. There's no gate. The walls are up, and that's it. And whatever's in the fortress is what's in here, and this is what it's going to be. Even if it means to our detriment, this is what it's going to be. And here's the last bullet point I'll offer on this video, and I'll probably think of more after I publish this one. And I'll write those down, and I'll make another video if I get a few going. But the last one is, in the interview itself, they tend to oversell. You must start taking note of when someone is overselling something to you, because why aren't the benefits apparent? I have always said this. I really hate being sold to. I hate it. I despise it, because I feel like it insults my intelligence, unless it's something that I know nothing about. If it's a product or service that I've never heard of before and I'm curious, then yeah, tell me about it, because I've never heard of this before. I want to know. But some things you know about, and you're intelligent and you can think, and these salespeople feel like they have to do all the thinking for you to make you understand why it's such a good product, when really you should be able to see that yourself. So they're overselling this position, and you can really tell that they're just laying it on, because they're actually more desperate for you to come work for them than you are for a job. Even though it may not feel that way to you, they need you more than you need them. And that's why they're so laying it on so thick. Companies that know they've got something good going, first of all, rarely have openings, because people like their jobs, so they don't leave. They rarely have openings, and they also rarely have openings because they've gotten pretty efficient. So they have people in the proper places, so they don't have to, it's hard to explain what I'm trying to say. They don't have a lot of waste in their processes. So their open positions come around few and far between. Like maybe somebody gets married and their husband moves to another state, or vice versa, and they had to leave the company because they moved to another state. That's why an opening came up, kind of situation. Not because there's a constant churn of people who get hired and then quit, hired then quit, hired then quit. So when a company is really laying it on thick, you don't get to ask many questions because they're just talking. They're talking up their benefits package, and maybe they're proud of it, because some companies really do have great benefits packages, but they should not be overselling you. You should kind of understand, wow, this is a really great opportunity. It shouldn't have to be made apparent to you. So if they're overselling, something is wrong. They're desperate for a position, and chances are if you take it, you're immediately going to get dumped on. All the work that's been piling up because other people wouldn't take the position is going to get dumped on you. You're going to meet the resident narcissist almost immediately, and pretty quickly you'll understand why that position was open in the first place. You will. And you'll think back to that interview like, man, they seemed kind of desperate. Companies do get desperate, but I think a lot of them deserve to be desperate, the way they treat people and the way that they refuse to change and just acknowledge people's humanity and treat them. It's like no one understands human nature anymore. Well, when they're run by narcissists, of course not, because narcissists have no human nature, really, or they don't understand it. And so they can't design policies around human nature because they don't understand human nature. So that's this video on signs that you're applying to a narcissistic company or working for one. And there's ways to tell. There's ways, see how many questions they let you ask. If you don't really get to ask a lot of questions in the interview, they don't really want to answer a bunch of questions. So that's a sign all by itself. But if they're very open to questions, if they seem very confident in themselves, like, hey, this is a great opportunity. We hope that you take it. We think you're a good candidate. But if not, there's quite a few other candidates who would probably be interested. So they don't oversell. They just present to you the facts. They show you their company. They could be proud of it. They could show you what they're proud of, and then they let you make a decision. A narcissistic interview is going to try to help you make the decision in the interview, if that makes sense. So this could go a bunch of different ways, but thank you all so much for the inspiration for this video. Thank you to that viewer, and I will probably make a few more, and I'm very interested to hear your comments down below. Thank you as always for listening, and I grant you the permission to exist. Bye-bye.